This lens is the main feature of the museum, and the reason for that is lenses like this changed nautical, maritime, trade, and military sailing in a way never before possible. And it was lighthouse lenses like this that accomplished. Let me give you a little bit of background. Three things happened in the 1800s, about the middle of the 19th century. Three things happened. First, the first thing that happened was there was a transfer of energy to run ships from wind power to steam. And that meant you had bigger ships, they could go faster, they could go farther, they could carry more cargo, and they were safer because they could go up and they could go in any direction. The second thing was the whole material of ships changed. Went from wood, which is brittle and easily penetrated, to metal, which is tougher and stronger. You could also make the ships bigger, and they could carry more cargo, etc., etc. The third thing that changed it was the biggest change of all, and that had to do with lighthouses. For quite literally 2,000 years, there had been problems by every nation that tried to put a ship at sea. It had a treacherous coastline, perhaps, and so you would put a light up here to mark the treacherous coastline. But the light would only go from here maybe to here, because that's all it could generate. But the danger was way out here. So you had all this that was uncovered, and it was treacherous, and people were still drowning, and the ships were still sinking. So the problem had been analyzed by everybody who was addressing it. We need bigger, stronger light sources. We need more foot candles, more foot candles, more foot candles. And the same result. We get incremental improvement, but not very much. They never got out to where they could really cover all of the treacherous territory.
So like really long time ago.
Well, we started out more than 2,000 years ago in the 3rd century BCE in Egypt, when the ships that were Egyptian ships were trying to find the mouth of the Nile, coming in at Alexandria, at the port of Alexandria, and they were looking around, they were trying to find, so they put 400 foot above the ocean, they put this big light, and they just built bonfires. And the bonfires at night would glow red, and the ships would see the red glow, and they'd come in. And that's how it all started. And they didn't get a hell of a lot better over 2,000 years. One of the things they did was they adopted lanterns that were reflective in nature. Now here's what you got. Now, I'm the light source here, you're where I want it to go, okay? But we put the light there, and it's going to send light in all directions. Here, 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 here. All right. So, only the light that's going to you is going to do any good. My job now is to get that light that's going to be wasted out here to get it into your direction. And the way they figured out to do that best was to use a bunch of reflectors. Mirrors, parabolic metal, copper sheets, whatever it may happen to be. But the problem with reflection is it absorbs light. There are several features that will tell you how much they absorb, but I've seen estimates as high as 87% of the original light is being absorbed, and certainly it's more than 50%. So it's not a very efficient use of the light that you've got. The young man who came up with this design here is not reflective, it's refractive. That small little difference of the middle syllable, refractive rather than reflective, is all the difference in the world, because this does not absorb light. It redirects it. All of these pieces of glass here are individual prisms. That's all they are. They're just prisms held in a brass formation, metal formation. There are 24 separate segments to this particular one here. It comes in 24 sections, and so you can move them around and get them upstairs and places like that. And each one of those prisms takes light that is going to go shooting off this way, down here, out here, redirect it up to where you want it to go. Okay?
And each prism is made of glass?
Yes, each prism is made of glass. It's a special kind of glass called crown glass. It took them a long time to perfect the technology that was required in order to get the purity necessary for these things to do the job we wanted them to do, but they eventually accomplished that. And they accomplished there was nothing more dangerous that you could do except go to war, and perhaps not even then, as to get on the bow of a ship and go out to sea as a seaman. It was the most dangerous thing you could do. This changed that because you put lights at the most treacherous places of the coastlines, and all of a sudden your shipwreck rate goes way, way down. We had 200 shipwrecks here in the period of 1850 to 1870. 200. That means, yeah. That means the Coast Guard.
That's only 20 years.
That's only 20 years.
That's like 10 a year.
Coast Guard said you could guarantee it one a month. You could make book up one every month.
And each ship is loaded full of people.
It's loaded full of people. Mainly what they're doing here is they're taking lumber from the mountains around here. This is all part of the gold rush. Everything in California goes back to the gold rush. 1850, the gold rush had started 2 years ago. San Francisco becomes the fastest growing city in the world. It needs infrastructure. You know, it needs hospitals and fire departments and schools and, you know, all the things it takes to make a city. In order to do that, they need wood. They didn't have the wood down there. Where you got the wood? These mountains over here have got the wood. Okay, let's chop down all these trees. Now we've got to get them from there. They don't have any good here. We've got to get them down there. Roads couldn't take the pounding. The railroad was too steep and hilly. So this is the avenue that they chose. And these are the ships. Like this. These are all loaded with lumber. Now it's been rough sawn, rough hewn, but it all been settled down in the belly of this craft here. You can see that this is the cargo they're carrying. This isn't the ship. This is the cargo that they're carrying, and they're standing on top of their cargo.
So there's really not that many people per ship.
Well, they were going anywhere. No ship was less than 10 that I know of. Everybody was carrying at least 10. Most of them were carrying 6 guys on a shift. 6 guys, 2 shifts a day, 6 guys on a shift. So you got 12 guys on a craft. There might be as few as 5 per shift, but or 10 in total.
So 10 to 12.
So to go from here to San Francisco with their load,
yep,
takes how long?
Well, if they don't have, it depends on the weather conditions and all that, but it would probably take them day and a half, 2 days. Day and a half, 2 days. But they're coming down from other places too. They're coming down out of Eureka, they're coming down out of Arcadia, they're coming down out of Crescent City, they're coming down out of all of those places up there, and they have point after point after point after point they have to get across. So although we lost 200 here, just 30 miles north is Point Cabrillo. And they lost a like number up there, maybe not quite 200, but enough, you know. They got to get past Point Reyes, foggiest place in the West Coast. Point Reyes, they got to get past Point.
We just came from there.
To go there, they were close.
Oh, right?
Yeah, we just came from there.
Well, we did.
It was so foggy you couldn't see anything.
Yeah, well, that's, you know, that's what happens. And that's the problem. If you were in a ship like that, you don't have radar, you don't have sonar, you've got no navigation tools that work. Because the sextant that you're going to use to shoot the sun and the stars is no good because it's all foggy. So you are coming by that point of land or this point of land, and you're doing it by guesswork. And this is the last place in the world you want to use guesswork. And it's the last place in the world where a lot of guys use guesswork. You know? So that went on for this kind of stuff around 20 years. And they knew they had a problem. They were going to build a lighthouse, first thing they authorized it in the middle 1850s. They were going to start in 1860. Civil War got in the way, so they had 10 more years of shipwrecks. By 1870, they built this. This is the first lighthouse they built. They built it out of brick, good looking lighthouse, did the job. It went from a shipwreck in one down to about a shipwreck every about 1 every 3 years, every 3.5 years. So it's not perfect, but it's amazing. Not perfect, but it's amazing. So,
What are these buildings down there?
well, these buildings here, this is the crew quarters. This is where the keepers live with their families. And big families, well, about 25 kids living in this building here. 4 separate units. I can tell you why. Chief Lighthouse Keeper had 6 children. He and his wife lived there, so there are 8 people living under this chimney. First Assistant Lighthouse Keeper lived here with his wife and 10 children, so that's 12 people. So just in these 2 chimneys, you got 20 people. I don't know what the figures are over here, but but just say it's half again as many. You got 30 people in here, 8 adults, 22 kids. And they're all going to school every day, back and forth. I mean, it's a big job for the Coast Guard to support these guys. These buildings here are the foghorn building. That's where the foghorn was. All this wood in here is to keep the steam going in the foghorn. That's the foghorn back there, that big black tube, yeah, number 6. And that ran 20, well, it didn't blow the horn 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, but it had to have a head of steam on it that would allow it to blow the horn 24 hours. So they had to keep the water boiler being there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. That meant it had to be fueled. Somebody had to be fueling it all that time. And then, because they were using wood here, somebody had to chop, stack, and do all the wood. Tough job. A lot of work going on here.
So this black tube was sitting on the land outside of this building?
No, this black tube was sitting in this building here.
Inside that
Yeah.
building?
It had another one here, two of them there. And they had another one there. So this was the original foghorn building. This is the original lighthouse. This is the original keeper's quarters. All of this was demolished in the 1906 earthquake. They made a mistake here, built this out of brick, built all this out of brick. Unfortunately, what they didn't recognize at the time is they're 3 miles from the San Andreas Fault. Ooh, my bad. Yeah, my bad. Everything that you see in this picture, everything that's anywhere close to us here, everything moved in that earthquake. And I'm not talking about an inch or 2 or 6 or a foot or a foot and a half. Everything moved 16 feet. Bang! That fast.
That's a lot.
This thing goes like that, 16 feet back that way. So you can imagine the stresses, and it didn't survive. This thing was knocked off its foundation. This tilted back and forth, back and forth, and back and forth, so it cracked in here. It didn't tumble over because of the staircase that's inside it. You're going to go up that staircase. It is the same staircase in the new lighthouse that kept the old lighthouse from tipping over. And,
So they just tore down
toward the old
the
lighthouse.
shell and then rebuilt around it?
No. What they did was here's the demolition process of the. This is the demolition process of the keeper's quarters. You can see that this is sometime afterwards. It's November of '06. So there was some damage to the roof line, but mainly it all happened. Everything just fell off the foundation. But this is the key thing. They decapitated this on purpose and put the lantern down on a temporary platform so they continue to run the light. But you can see what happened here. These are the forces of the earthquake, cutting this thing into thirds like that. So they had to tear the whole thing down. When they tore it down, what they realized was, as they were tearing it down, they realized that the staircase, that spiral staircase, is the thing that kept the whole thing intact and from not toppling over onto the top of this building here and going through and killing people. So when it came to build the new lighthouse, which is the one you're going to climb, hi there, you going up top? Good. When it came to the new lighthouse, which they built out of reinforced concrete, by the way, because in that 36 years reinforced concrete became available. So they built that out of reinforced concrete. There was a big controversy about whether or not they needed a new staircase. And the chief architect said, we got to have a new staircase, got to have a new staircase, got to have a new staircase. The chief engineer said, you've got a good staircase. We've already know it works, and that's the one that's going in there. And so that's the one that's in there now. And when you take your first step on the staircase, you'll see a little diamond that says, Nottingham Sun, San Francisco, 1869. That's the staircase that kept the original lighthouse from tipping over. I'm impressed. I'm impressed. You know, 145. And there are 4 rest areas.
Okay.
So you can take your time. And why don't I get you all going up there? Because it's, we're going to close in about 45 minutes. So. Are you going up by yourself? Or is there?
Yep.
You are? Well, come on. Come on.
Just us.